There are three little words that underpin most people struggle with clutter at some point in their life. And those three words are just in case. In today's podcast, we're going to give you some advice on how to break through a just in case mindset and make solid decluttering progress.
You're listening to the Declutter Hub podcast, bringing you tried and tested, no-nonsense tips and advice from the leading experts in decluttering and organising your home. Now here are your hosts, Ingrid Jansen and Leslie Spellman.
Hello and welcome listeners, I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Leslie.
If you're new to the Declutter Hub podcast, you're so welcome. What you'll find is that we try and find a fun factor in the serious business of decluttering. And if you've been here for a while, you know exactly what we mean. So thank you so much for listening.
If you'd like to get involved in conversations relating to this podcast, it all takes place in our Facebook group. So come and join our lovely, warm, supportive community. To find the Facebook group, go to declutterhub.com/group to find out more, or you can search for the Declutter Hub community on Facebook.
Hello, Leslie. Well, how often do we hear, I'm just going to keep this just in case, because you never know, I might need it one day. I mean, hundreds, thousands of times we've heard this, right?
We've heard it so many times. It kind of, as we said in the intro, it's like most people will utter those three words at some point during their decluttering journey. And it's important to evaluate how that holds us back and keeps us stuck. If we kept every item just in case it might come in one day, then we would be paralyzed in our decluttering decisions, and we need to work through that, don't we? So it's interesting really, Ingrid, because I don't know whether people understand the way that our podcast planning works, Ingrid, but basically we have a list of ideas, we come up with ideas and we go, yep, that's what we want to talk about this week. And just in case was on the list. And so we were like, right, okay, so we planned it. We went through everything that we were going to talk about. And then we went, I wonder what we wrote in the book. Because so basically, I don't know whether anybody knows or not. I'm sure you will have heard by now that we have a book coming out at the end of February. Reset Your Home, which we are very, very excited about. And we have a section in the book on just in case items. And so Ingrid was like, why don't you read it out? I was like, yeah, that's not a bad shout, Ingrid. Let's do that. And so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to read out the little excerpt from our book coming up, Reset Your Home, Unpack Your Emotions and Your Clutter Step by Step. You get a little feel for the way that it's all written and everything. Exciting. I'm like a bit nervous to read it out. It's like the first public outing, Ingrid, of the book. And then we are going to talk things through. So we're not just going to read the book for the next 300 podcasts, because that would be hungry, do you know what I mean? We want you to do that for yourselves, and we will continue to do our podcast in our normal way. But for today, we thought that would be a good shout, right, Ingrid? So here we go. So this is in the indoor storage areas chapter. So we have a chapter on indoor storage areas. So all those storage areas in your home, like lofts, attics, basements that are not outside, with like garages and sheds and all that kind of stuff. So we have an indoor storage section, we have an outdoor storage section, and this appears in the indoor storage chapter. So here we go. It's time to talk about keeping things just in case. This emotion pervades cluttered homes everywhere and is a tough nut to crack. When an item isn't in day-to-day use anymore, we consign it to the deepest, darkest depths of our storage area. Our storage areas are a catch-all for just-in-case items, so the time has come to dig deep and truly challenge our thought process. If we were to really ask what we mean by keeping something just in case, would we be able to truly articulate its future purpose? It's unlikely, because it's an arbitrary decision based on a whim. And that goes completely against the grain of making a controlled, intentional choice to keep something. Just in case items are kept out of fear of making a mistake, nervousness that our circumstances may change, or vivid memories and guilt about issues that have arisen in the past.
Those dining chairs we kept just in case we ever decide to take upcycling as a hobby. That rah-rah skirt we kept just in case we ever decide to go to a fancy dress party that's 80s themed. That appliance box we have kept just in case we run into issues when we have to return it because it's developed a fault. But how do we move past the lure of just in case items? It's all about evaluating the pros and cons of keeping something and feeling in control of the decision you are making. Once your decisions become intentional, most of them will be the right ones. But occasionally, you may let something go that you later discover would have been helpful. It is natural that when you are embarking on making decisions about a lifetime of things, something might slip through the net on occasion. Don't allow this to be a setback. We need to be brave and confident that letting go of a surplus of items will allow us to find and cherish more important ones. Trust us, if you do have regrets about decluttering something and it's a rarity, it's never a just in case item. It's almost always a sentimental item.
Woohoo! The book is out there in the general public, Ingrid.
I know.
That
And the
is
nice thing is, we did an audiobook as well, Leslie, so people can now hear how our voices sound, which I think they already knew because we've done like 330 podcasts, but still.
I know
Yes, I know
it
it's
was
exciting.
exciting. So that's an excerpt from our book from the indoor storage chapter, and that gives you a feel for what we talked about, how we talked about just in case items in the book. But let's dig into that a little bit deeper, Ingrid, because that is what this podcast is all about. So
Yes.
we want to talk about a few things that might hold you back. We talked about in the excerpt from the book. We talked about the fact that we need to make intentional decisions to keep things. That's the crux of why a just in case item is not useful, because we can't make an intentional decision about it, a controlled decision about something. That's what we're urging you to do in your decluttering journey, is to feel controlled that the decisions that you are making are the right ones for the time that you make them. And so I think one of the things that we talk about all the time is, you know, we often live in the past and for the future. So what we mean by that is we keep things from the past sentimentally, we keep things for the future, definitely just in case. But what we truly need to embrace, and why we don't need just in case items, is our current lifestyle. The vast majority of things in our home need to be for today, need to be used, loved, needed on a daily basis or a weekly basis. We can't just keep things for no good reason just because we think they're going to come in at some point, right?
I know. And I think that can really give people stuck, right? Because they always wonder, well, and you never know when I might need it one day. And it's like, yeah, but hold on. You want to have the stuff in your house that fits in your current lifestyle, that fits with the current you, that fits with the current state of your family and the people that are around you and the place where you live. When you're in a small apartment, you can't keep loads of stuff in case you might one day have a bigger house. Or you can't go, if you're thinking about actually going to a smaller house, try to cram a 5-bedroom house in a 2-bedroom apartment because just in case I might need something. No, you need to think about which items fit currently in my life and are helpful to me, because all this other clutter can really keep you stuck at where you are and where you want to go to.
Absolutely. And I think that often when we're keeping things just in case, it's part of a scarcity mindset, isn't it? So this often comes into play as well. We fear that we're not going to have the resources or the money available in the future to replace items that we have bought before. And so
Mhm.
we almost with that, we need to change up our thinking a little bit if we can. Sometimes it's difficult, right? It's very hard to shake off a scarcity mindset, Ingrid, right? If that's
Yeah,
something that's come to us from a period in our life that we were, we underwent poverty, we had less, we didn't have what we need, all of those things. Of course, like all of the things that happen in our life, have a bearing on us and they have an impact on us that affects our current thinking. And so we're
yeah,
not saying, oh, forget about it, just money doesn't matter. That's not what we're saying. But we need to think about it. We need to think about it. We need to establish that that's the emotion that's holding us back, if it is a
yeah,
scarcity mindset, and look at the reality. So take that scarcity mindset and go, okay, I know that that happened then, and I know where that feeling is coming from. But is that the reality today? If
yeah,
I needed to buy this thing that I am keeping just in case that's in front of me again, Would I be able to? And that's a really useful question. And for most people, particularly people with clutter, they can buy those things again because they are in a cycle of purchasing items as they go along, which is why they've got a clutter problem. And so I think that it's hard to have, a scarcity mindset is a difficult one to work through, but embrace the realism. Sit yourself down, give yourself a little bit of a talking to and go, but is that the reality? And is that scarcity mindset holding me back? It's really important, right, Ingrid?
Yeah, definitely. Now, another way to look at just in case items is to ask yourself, like, what is impacted if I keep this item? Does it have a bearing? Of course, it has a bearing on your space in your house, but also that all these just in case items may really contribute to the feeling of overwhelm that you have. Or maybe all these just in case items prevent you from having people come into your house or having people stay over. Maybe the thing that you want most in your life is your grandchild to have a sleepover at your house or your friends to come round for a coffee. Or maybe, you live with somebody in your house who actually really struggles with all the items and you keep clinging on to all these just in case items while your partner is like, can we just please get some space here? I want to be able to do other things now in my current life and for the future. I don't want to hang on to all these things from the past that we're holding on to just in case. So there's a lot of things wrapped up in just in case items.
Yeah, absolutely. And then going a little bit deeper, we've got safety often is impacted. If we've got loads of stuff around the house, it impacts safety as well. And
Yep.
it kind of it perpetuates that feeling of shame that many of us feel about the clutter in our homes. And those are the things that we want to try and eradicate. So you've been with us a while, so we have a firm belief in emotions first, stuff second. This is all about asking yourself what it is about your emotional connection to that item that is holding you back. And so sometimes that just in case might go a little bit deeper, but so you need to try and work through that to work out what it is about this item that has a hold on you, because that's what it is really. We're talking before about intentional choices and making controlled decisions. We don't want stuff to control us. We want to be in control of it. And so it's really, really important to understand what it is about that item that makes it so difficult for you to make what seems as if it might be a completely rational decision. So a lot of these just in case items seem irrational, but what is it about that item? What is it that's so special about that item that it's causing us to be paralyzed in our decision making? Really, really important. So always keep that front of mind. Emotions first, stuff second. Why are you holding on to these items that you feel that you probably don't need?
So now we're getting more clarity about the emotions that sit behind this just in case stuff. I think it's also important to realize that when you are working through just in case items, what we often see is that people are just not ready to make a decision on these items. And that's when they become just in case items, right? So what we see is they find something in their home, maybe in the living room, in the bedroom. They think, I don't want to have it now. I don't think I need it, but I'm not ready to let it go. So instead of actually letting go of the item, which feels possibly the right thing to do in that moment, they go, let me just put it somewhere else. I can put this maybe in the spare bedroom, or you know what? I can put it in the basement, or I'm gonna put it in my attic or in my loft, or it has to go. I know it has to go to the recycling center. I'm giving it away to somebody. I'm gonna put it in the garage, ready for it to leave my house. So it becomes a delayed decision because that ready to leave the house then is not a I'm gonna declutter this and it's gonna go. It is a delayed decision. And then what happens at one point, you're gonna go back in your garage and go, oh wow, that item is still there. What did I decide I was gonna do with this? And you're gonna have to do the whole thinking process again, which is of course exhausting.
Just in case items are exhausting to work through because there's so many of them, if we're being honest, which is why it's such a problem for so many people. So we need some practical advice for people as to how to move forward from this. So let's head for a break and then come back in a moment.
Welcome back to your Just In Case podcast. Are you listening and thinking, oh my gosh, my whole house is full of just in case items? Have Ingrid and Leslie been at my house? We hear that all the time, don't we, Leslie? Have you been in my house? How do you know all of this?
I know.
We know, we know.
We see everything, don't we, Ingrid? We see everything. We know those just in case items are there for sure. But how do we actually make steps, Ingrid, to try and let go of these just in case items? Well, I think, first of all, it's all about your goal, isn't it? Now, we've
Yeah.
spoken many, many times about big picture goals, which is all about visualizing what it is and why it is that you want to declutter your house. You know, Ingrid talked before about people wanting to come in for a coffee, wanting to have your grandchild over to stay, whatever your version of that is, that's what you need to keep uppermost in your mind, because where that's going to take you is it's going to take you to a decision about, okay, I have to press on trying to make decisions, trying to understand my emotional connection with these things in order to make the progress that I need to achieve my goal. And so it's really, really important with all decluttering, not just in case items, to have a big picture goal.
Yeah.
So that big picture goal absolutely could be something to do with people coming over. It could be wanting to renovate your house. It could be as simple as wanting to get time back. It could be that you want to do a new hobby, that you want to start cooking a little bit more, that you want to save money generally, that you're looking at budgeting. There are a myriad of big picture goals, and we would urge you to look at a big picture goal for your entire house. So
Yeah.
what does a decluttered house look like? What does that mean to you? What would that look like to you? And also then to break down that big picture goal as you're working through your home room by room, and have a big picture goal for that individual room as well. Really, really important to sort of break down those goals to have a kind of wider vision, and then to go a little bit more granular room by room, right?
I think it's really, an example that I can give is, for example, if you've got a room and it's kind of a dumping ground at the moment with all these just in case items and then some, and you've kind of like, oh, I would love to have a craft room or a room where I can exercise or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. You can ask yourself with every time when you see an item go, does this item go with the vision that I have for this room? Because this just in case item is holding me back from what I really want. And that is to be able to have a desk next to the window where I can craft or draw or paint or knit or whatever it is. And this item is not helping me towards that goal. And if you just keep moving stuff around from place to place, you're just churning all these items through your house from the room it was in to the dumping ground to the room of doom room to the garage, and it never leaves. So you're always these items are standing in the way of the life you want to lead, essentially. So that can be really help you. Okay, I've got that big picture goal. I've got that goal for that room in mind. Do these items fit with that vision?
I think the thing is, Ingrid, we can be forgiven for thinking that we come across one item and thinking, oh, that's not really going to have much impact. But the problem is that just in case items build and build and build. And so then you
Yeah,
have a collection of items. And so one item on its own is not going to stop you from achieving your goal. But if you've got multiple or hundreds of just in case items, that's going to be the thing that
yeah,
stops you. So we always urge you to slow down with your decluttering, take it one step at a time, and really go in on a granular level to identify what the emotion is that's holding you back, and make that intentional decision that we spoke about in the excerpt from the chapter and right at the beginning when we were talking about it. Make those decisions intentional. How is this going to enhance my current life? Yeah. And if it's
yeah,
just something that's for the future and you're not quite sure what you're going to do with it, and you're like, oh, not sure, just feels like the wrong thing to get rid of it, that's not an intentional decision. That's just a kind of arbitrary decision on a whim that we spoke about. And so it's really important to see that the results of actually leaving things to one side and going, oh, it's just okay, it's just one, it's just one. And those one become 10, become 100, become 1,000. And that's when
yeah,
we've got problems, right? I
yeah,
think it's really important as well when you're doing your big picture goal, you assign a big picture goal, but always visualize the freedom that decluttering is going to offer you. Because we've said it so many times. Nobody is ever, ever, ever disappointed by decluttering. It's always a positive outcome. Everyone is like, this is amazing. I've got freedom. The process might not be positive for a lot of people. The process is difficult. It tests relationships. It tests your energy. It tests your time. All of those things. It can feel like a completely thankless task. But when you get to the end of a small project, a room, or your whole house, the benefits are so beneficial that people absolutely love it, and nobody's ever
Yeah.
disappointed. We've never had anybody go, do you know what, Ingrid and Leslie, you told me to declutter my house, and I can't believe that I did that because I hate it. You know what I mean? No one, no one. The feeling that decluttering brings is one of freedom.
Yeah.
And so we need to remember that all the time. I think
Yeah.
it's going to give you more space. It's going to make things easier to clean. It's going to save you money because you're not buying duplicates. All this mental clutter weighs down on us, and to let go of that and to let go of these just in case items and all the other items to boot is going to really kind of just enhance your life, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think if you're thinking to yourself, but I've paid all this money for this item, and that's why I can't let it go. Maybe a question to ask yourself is, if I didn't have this item, but I would have the money now, would I buy it again? Wow. And you might think, oh, well, no. And then there's your answer then. I would not rebuy it again. So that can be also very helpful if you're struggling to kind of go through the whole decision making and the thinking about it. Like, where do I want to go? Would you buy it again if I had the money for it today? Because,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Or is there another way of getting securing that item? You know what I mean?
yeah,
So we can borrow stuff. We had a question the other day, didn't we, about somebody who said, only once a year I have like 15 people round for dinner or something like that. But I'm keeping so much stuff that's like overwhelming my space for this one meal. You know what I mean? And it was like, borrow the plates.
yeah,
Just say, I really want 15 people to come around for dinner, but bring a plate and a glass so that I don't have to keep. People are like, of course. If you sent
yeah,
a WhatsApp to me and said, can you bring your own plate so I don't have to keep all that clutter in my house? I'd be like, of course I can. Like, how is that hassle? It's not hassle for anybody, but we
yeah,
overthink these things.
yeah,
There are other opportunities we can borrow things. The world is changing now and people don't want to continually buy, buy, buy. So we are encouraged to share a little bit more. We're
yeah,
sharing things on apps like Olio. So we're taking other people's things that they don't need, and these things, and that's also very positive. A byproduct of decluttering is to be able to hand something off that you kind of are a little bit nervous about letting go of and see that it's gone to a good home. That's another
yeah,
thing that we see all the time. Giving something a second life, particularly if it's to somebody that you know or somebody that can appreciate it, is such a lovely feeling. I remember last year I had some football nets, those pop-up football nets that you have in the garden when your kids are like little. And so it had been there, and in a way, and I'm kind of times ticked on. I'm like, oh, I really should probably keep those. Going to have some grandchildren in at some point. I might be 10 years away, and I'm keeping these huge nets. And I was like, just let it go. Can I buy the nets again if I have grandchildren? Yes, I can. So why am I keeping these things? And so
hmm
then I put them on Olio. And her mum came round and she brought a little boy. She had not told him at all that that's what he was getting. And he was absolutely delighted, delighted. And that was everything to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, sat in my basement for 10 years. Probably in 10 years, I'll go, oh, it's a little bit, it's not great anyway. We'll buy your own one for Christmas or a birthday or something anyway. Do you know what I mean? And so,
or Leslie, I know, impossible thought, but maybe your grandchildren don't like football. I know Steve is going to spit out his teeth when he hears this.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
possible. I mean,
Yeah,
look at my
exactly.
kids. Neither of them like
I
football.
know, but that's yeah, you're exactly right. Do you know what I mean? And so it's things like that. And so to the joy that comes with giving
Yeah,
something away to somebody and
yeah.
things like Olio, which is a UK based app, but we think it's expanded to the rest of the world.
Mhm.
We keep getting kind of conflicted information about whether it has or not. It's perhaps not as prevalent everywhere else as it is here. But Olio is massive in the UK. Other things are available, Free Cycle, Free Goal, Facebook groups, all of those buy and swap groups, all of those kind of things have the same thing, which is to give it to somebody who
Yeah,
really wants it. And that's what's
yeah.
amazing, right?
Yeah. And of course, there are loads of items you can donate as well. But indeed, with something like football nets, like Olio is like the perfect thing. But, adopt a donation mindset. You want to be going, okay, this just in case item is no longer doing it for me. what am I going to do with this next? And not just move it to somewhere else as a holding place. No, I'm going to take action on it now. And that's why it's so good to have all these different resources at your kind of fingertips. Like I've got the Olio app on my phone. It's so easy. Snap a picture. I had a couple of things last week. Snapped a picture, put it on, tiny description, and I went, you can pick it up, within the next 3 days between 9 and 9. Boom. And honestly, within half an hour, I had somebody, I'd love to have this. Gone.
See, look
Like,
at you with your 3 days. I'm literally like, okay, I want it gone by 6 o'clock tonight. I'm here between 6 and 6:30. If you want it, you got to come and get it because I want it out. Do you know what I mean? You're like 3 days, like 12 hours per day. I'm like, nope, you really want it, you got to come and get it now because I want it gone. You know what I mean? That's the difference
No, but
between
I
you
mean,
and
I do the listing for like 3 days, and because the original thing is that the listing is like 28 days. I'm like, I don't want to have this listed for 28 days. I want to have it gone within 3 days. But then I always say, let me know when you can pick it up. You can pick it up between 9 and 9, and then they normally come. I can come this afternoon. I'm like, perfect. So yeah, I love it, but it's really nice to
we
all
should
this.
totally be on commission for Olio.
Yeah, yeah.
Shouldn't we? We absolutely love it. We are on no commission. We need to do that. Write that down, Ingrid. We need to be on commission for Olio. Like, get a little cut of everybody's sale. That would make us rich, right? If you got like 10p for every, they don't sell anything. That's the problem.
No.
It's free. So
It's
I don't know how
free.
we get
It's
commission.
free. It's free.
Yeah. Oh, well.
But I love seeing, they've got these lovely badges, Wow, you're like a super poster. I'm like, woohoo!
Do you realize, Ingrid, that they say that to a lot of people?
I don't, it doesn't matter.
Ingrid's like, oh, I am the
back.
only super poster in Southeast London, just me. Like, standard.
No, that's not what I mean. But it's really nice when the app just gives you that little pat on the back, right? Or you get another badge because you've posted like 10 items in a row. It's fantastic. But and that's what I'm trying to say. You need to celebrate the wins.
Yeah,
celebrate
absolutely.
the wins. Because you should be proud of yourself for decluttering and organizing and making your home work for you. And even if it's, whether it's football nets from the garden or some decorations from my wreath that I had on my door at Christmas, it doesn't matter what it is. You are clearing some stuff from your house. I easily could have held on to those wreath baubles and.
Oh, is that what you did? Oh, that's so you did go down to a granular level on that. So you had baubles and little kind of acorns and stuff, not acorns, what do you call them, pine cones, and stuff like that you had on your wreath, and you stripped those off the wreath because it was a natural wreath.
Yeah.
And oh, good for you. Good for you.
And I thought, am I a wreath making person? Absolutely not. I was in a workshop and I actually did a nice job, I'm going to be honest. Yeah. And then I thought, well, this wreath now its time is up. It's did a lovely job for me over the holiday period. Do I see myself making a wreath by myself with getting moss and things and twigs? And I'm like, that's never going to happen. So, but I could have easily held on to it just in case. And I thought, no, I just don't.
Absolutely. That is a classic example of a just in case item. And it's the perfect place for us to close out this podcast with your wins, with your Christmas wreath baubles, Ingrid. Well done, you.
Exactly. So has this podcast made you think to yourself, oh my word, my whole house is just in case items. I need to do something. Well, listeners, we hope that you have enjoyed this podcast and that you've also been excited to hear kind of a sneak preview about a part of a chapter in our book that's coming out. It's called Reset Your Home, Unpack Your Emotions and Your Clutter Step by Step. It's coming out on the 27th of February. It will be published by Bloomsbury, and you can find our book on Amazon if you go to declutterhelp.com/book. So thanks so much for listening, and we hope to see you next week.
Thanks so much for listening to the Declutter Hub podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us in your podcast player so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.